Good evening and welcome to the City of Helena Administrative Meeting. This meeting is called to order. November 30th, 2022, 4 p.m. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena City Commission meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage and your participation. Madam Clerk.
City Attorney Doctor.
Here.
Interim City Manager Burton.
Here.
Commissioner Shirtliff.
Here.
Commissioner Dean. Here. Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Commissioner Reed. Here. Mayor Collins.
Here. Thank you. Comments or questions from the commission? Oh, geez. Okay, go
Couple
ahead.
quick. So I don't know how long ago, maybe it was a month or so ago, you so graciously recommended that I sit on a board called the City County Building Management Advisory Board. And the commission, my colleagues voted me in. So we had our first meeting on Monday, and just to let you know that that's going on, and that the purpose of that advisory board is to deal with issues around the city county building and the Law and Justice Center. And we were just kind of getting some groundwork laid, and just want to let you know that was going on. And then this evening, I am participating and Commissioner Dean is participating in the HCC meeting, where we are going to give HCC a kind of a rundown of what's been happening with the city manager recruitment process. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Okay. Recommendations from Helena Citizens Council. Do we have Ms. Freeland, Heidi on the line? Heidi Freelander. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, I'm checking online. I do not see Miss Friedlander online. If she's using another handle, could you raise your hand, please?
Okay, we'll get back to her when she comes on. Please alert me.
Yes.
City Manager's Report. Manager?
Mayor Collins, with your permission, I'd like to move the floor to Director Leland to give you an update on the water notice that we had put out, where
Okay.
we're at in that process with DEQ.
Go ahead,
Mayor and Commission, we are gonna have to send out another continuation letter of public notice for our violation that we had with the HA5s down in the Green Meadow area. It is a average of every quarter that goes, and so we're below, but this is just a continuation of that violation, and we have to send out another public notice. So it's the same one that was done a month and a half ago, and so nothing new, no new a continuation of the violation, but nothing new to report. And we are under the limit, and so we're just continuing that way. So there's no harmful effects by the water. It was just the one high hit that we did have.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Mr. Land, did we have any members of the public that reached out after that? And do we have any process to respond to them?
Mayor Commission, yes, we had several people reach out to us. They came off either to Jake, or they are sent to the admin assistants that we do send out a letter and email to them of where they need to send everything, and it will be sent into either the utility maintenance, our admin at Public Works, or for the water treatment. And then we can talk to them and get them the information that they need to know.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other comments?
Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk update. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
Mayor and Commissioners, tonight on the clerk's update, we have actually two items that's both related to boards. The first one is the resolution reestablishing the Citizens Conservation Board. This is being presented by myself, Director of Public Works, Ryan Leland, Deputy Director, Ed Coleman, and Leah Anderson, who's the Environmental Regulation Pretreatment Manager, and currently the staff liaison to the CCB. Included in your packet was the rough draft of the resolution and the recommended changes that we've been discussing in our meetings leading up to this. We're open to any questions that you may have regarding the changes. I think we've taken into consideration some of the comments made by the CCB regarding application, attrition, retention on that board, as well as other discussions amongst you as commissioners regarding your relationship with the boards generally, getting them more in line with the other practices we're instituting amongst the broad discussion amongst all of your boards and committees. So at this time, we're open to questions.
Okay, comments or questions from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Ms. Claiborne. So we did receive some comments from the CCB today. As far as process goes, how do we see that working, incorporating the feedback they had today?
Sure. Well, thank you, Commissioner Reed, Mayor, Commissioners. That's up for your discussion. I mean, this is an administrative meeting, as you well know, and so this is a draft resolution and its recommendations from myself and the staff. And if you'd like to take into consideration any of the comments made by the CCB and recommend changes to that final resolution, we would take that forward, bring that to you for final adoption at a regular commission meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Claiborne. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as a follow-up, I thought there were a couple of clarification points that were raised about, with new term limits, et cetera. So I would like to see if we were able to clarify some of those questions they had. Existing board. And I think if I understood correctly, we would be saying that term limits, we would be addressing it by allowing existing members to serve out one additional year, and then term limits would apply. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other
Would you
comments? Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Just, would you like me to clarify the term limits further, Commissioner? Did that answer your
That
question?
answered my question. I don't know if
Okay.
anyone else had questions based on the
Any
resolution or feedback.
I'm
Commissioners?
happy to chime in. I'm really pleased with how this resolution has panned out. First, I'm really glad that we are considering, and I don't think we've had any major pushback in terms of establishing this board into the future, since it was sunsetting. So I'm glad we're doing that. I think that it makes a lot of sense to have this board consistent with the way that our other boards are governed, and really an opportunity as we're trying to streamline the process for all of these so that every single advisory board is more effective in advising the commission. I think this is a really good first step. And I'm fully supportive of where this resolution is. I think it hits all of the points. One thing I will maybe just note too, and this came up in the letter as well, is something I've talked a lot about. We included in here 2 youth representatives, which is really meant for young people under 18. So the only demographic that doesn't actually have an opportunity to directly participate in local government through voting. And then so this gives us an opportunity to bring them into an advisory board. One thing that's interesting, the last league conference this past October, we came together and had there was a session of which I was part of. During the National League meetings, Montana was one of the only states that did not have youth representatives from local governments participating. And so it's something that municipalities across the state have been really trying to focus on. How do we get young people more involved? The data is very clear that the younger that kids are involved in all forms of government, the more likely they are to be active participants as adults. And I also will note that particularly when we're talking about the Citizen Conservation Board, these are issues that are going to, like most of the issues we deal with, most directly impact young people, well beyond everyone in this room is long gone. I'm looking around and including myself.
Yeah, right.
And so, but just to give you an idea, I mean, the average 15-year-old will still be alive in 2085, which I think makes everybody stop and think for a second that it's important that they're involved in their perspectives are heard, particularly on these type of issues, and a really good opportunity to get them involved in local government early. So.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this question is sort of for Commissioner Dean, but also just generally. So based on what you've said, the sort of clarification of under 18 and the concern that was raised about a 3-year term being difficult for a high school student, do you have a recommendation for the revision of the resolution about perhaps a different term for under 18 youth?
I mean, I think we could do a year or two as well. I don't think there's any issue with that. I don't have any problem with that at all. I think that it's the same issue we run into with 3-year terms
With the
with
adults.
adults. How many times are we approving board members for interim position? I mean, literally almost every single time we're appointing interim positions.
Okay.
So, but I think a year or two is also totally reasonable.
Go ahead,
So, yeah,
Commissioner.
I agree to that point. I think 1 year makes sense. I think for folks or kids that are under 18, for the youth that participate, it's like that saying, to plant the seeds of the trees we'll never know the shade of. To have those young kids involved would be great.
Thank you. Any public comments on this topic? Okay, moving along.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, just for a point of clarification, if we're going to move that, take that revision into account for the final draft of the resolution, would you still say that it would be, I think I heard consensus for a 1-year term for those youth appointments, is that correct?
I think that's fine. Yeah. I'm wondering in terms of the term limits, how that would apply.
That was going to be my follow-up question. So if you would all want to consider those 1-year appointments for the 2 youth appointees under 18, we can specify that, but also what would be your preference, or how would you like to draft it?
I wonder if maybe well, because if we did 2 years, then someone could actually serve, if they wanted to be reappointed, you could serve all 4 years of high school.
So
let's maybe 2-year terms. Is everyone
Yeah.
comfortable with that?
It turns 4, right? For an adult, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, is it 4?
Three.
3,
Three.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
6 years total.
for the 2 youth designations, you would like it to read 2 years and 2 terms.
Roger.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. So next, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have Ms. Freelander on?
You bear with me, Mr. Mayor. This is one of those awesome technical difficulties we get occasionally.
There you go. Well, they were warned, so they know. I warned them maybe at the beginning of the meeting, right?
I hate to say this, but my computer is frozen.
Okay, please continue, Madam Clerk.
All right, let's see. Let's see how the rest of this goes. Up. I apologize. There, it popped up. I do have one hand raised. It is Diana Hammer.
And okay, let's listen.
I apologize, Ms. Hammer. I really am trying to click. There we go.
You have the floor, Ms. Hammer.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Diana Hammer. I'm Chair of the Citizens Conservation Board, and we're excited to see this on the agenda today. So thank you very much. We did share some comments, mainly asking for clarification on some of the parts of the resolution. And actually, this discussion has really helped with clarify some of the questions we did have. I'll just call out one or two more areas that really haven't been discussed yet. One is regarding board composition. We currently have 3 really active committees on the board: water, energy, and waste. And that expertise isn't mentioned as in the description of who might apply to the board. And I think it might help recruit other candidates if it was explicitly named. And then the other point I wanted to just quickly mention, the annual report to the commission. We are super excited about that, having that opportunity to present to the commission early in the calendar year. So regarding priorities for what we would recommend for the next fiscal year. But we weren't clear if the 3 to 5 priorities could, if there were ongoing sustainability measures that weren't completed and we wanted to show our support, would that preclude us from making additional priority recommendations? So we were just seeking some clarity on that. Those are my comments. There's more detail on what we submitted earlier. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hammer. Any others, Madam Clerk?
At this time, Mr. Mayor, I don't see any other hands raised. If I may, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I think given the glitchiness of the computer, I'm going to move forward with the next discussion without the PowerPoint, just to
Go ahead.
avoid any complication. So as you all are aware, in February of 2021, we had a discussion regarding some strategic planning and priorities regarding the commission's boards. And there were some policies that you gave consensus direction to regarding the administration of your boards and committees and the governing policies. And so I wanted to give you an update at this time as to what we have accomplished thus far and what we're hoping to accomplish in the coming year. In front of you are, rather than bog down the computer with additional information, we gave you printouts of some of the nuts and bolts of how we go about recruiting our current board members, including updating the form to an HTML online form. We always take paper forms as well, but trying to upgrade the interaction with the public into a more digital fashion. We have also created a master spreadsheet, which you also have a copy of, that allows for tracking of the vacancies. It also automatically notifies us when a vacancy arises. We're working on the engagement with the staff liaisons to better track out the membership of each and every board. And so to that end, we've been working with the city manager's office since interim city manager Burton has come on board, ensuring that the proposed staff training internally that allows us to train the staff that liaise with the boards and committees, understand the processes that we've set up. Alex has been working very hard, and Stephanie before her, on creating the worksheets and the applications and the various bits of information you have in front of you tonight. And so I can't say thank you enough to them. But I just wanted to let you know that the work is ongoing, and aside from the PowerPoint, that I would like to have another discussion with you all in the spring of 2023 regarding the governing portion of this. I know Commissioner Dean has brought up repeatedly over the past year the discussion of bylaws. It is something that was discussed with the city attorney's office prior to Ms. Doctor coming on board. And so I know that I'd like to engage further with the city manager's office and the city attorney on that matter. But I want to make sure that this current commission is comfortable with the direction that was laid out in 2021. So my hope is to schedule that spring work session with you all, get feedback from you. We'll propose an agenda as we get through this, the early months in the holiday season, and then have that work session for discussion with you. So I apologize that the PowerPoint will just create more problems, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, I think we're headed in the right direction. It will be hugely helpful to have everyone on the same page. I know that it's oftentimes difficult for staff, and I think sometimes frustrating for advisory board members, especially if you've been on more than one advisory board, because the procedures and practices are not always consistent. So standardizing all of this, I think, will be make us that much more effective, and also ensure that all of our advisory boards are meeting open meeting law requirements, and we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
Continue, Madam Clerk.
Unless there is any further questions or comments from the commission, that concludes my report.
Okay, is there any public comments? Or are there any public comments?
It does not appear there is any public comment on this matter.
Okay, General Board Administration and Government Policies. Madam Clerk, is you again?
That was it.
That was it.
That was
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Department reports, a new website update. Public Information Officer Garson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Ty Weingartner, our project manager, he's part of Director Davis's finance team, helped me with an update. I have been an integral part of helping us transition to a new website for the city. I want to give them a chance to contribute to this brief presentation. For anybody that isn't aware, the city has been working on transitioning to a new public website for over a year now. The current city website is only a couple years old. City staff actually went through an incredibly robust and challenging website transition just a couple of years ago. And not long after the launch of the new website, our city county ITNS department lost its web developer. And after at least a couple of attempted job searches to fill that position, unsuccessfully, we started a conversation about alternate solutions, knowing that our ITNS department, with our current staffing, simply didn't have the resources to support the city or county websites long-term. And so our research throughout the summer and fall of 2021 led us to a vendor that specializes in local government websites. There are some cities in the state of Montana that currently have websites through this vendor, Granicus. And after comparing it with a number of different vendors, the city county team landed on them as our vendor of choice. We started the process with them formally this spring, and over the last several months have been working on not only designing and developing out what our new website will look like, how it will function, what our priorities are for developing the page, but most recently working with their team on starting to actually build the site, move content from our current site to the new public website, and are as of this morning targeting the end of January to be launching this. And so we thought with how quickly the end of this project is going to move forward, it would be hopefully helpful to give you a brief update on kind of what the processes look like to date and what you can expect between now and the 1st of February.
You have the floor, Mr. Weingarten.
Commissioners, my name is Ty Weingartner, the J2, and I'm the project manager for this website. Over the next 2 slides, I'll give you an update on the project, as well as the timeline and our current status. So to begin with, when we wanted to build our project team, the goal really was to have representation from every department within the city of Helena. And of course, for a couple of reasons. One is we wanted to make sure that this new website accomplished the business needs of each department, as well as we identified the content that each department felt and visitors wanted to look for the most, and we knew where that was and how easy it was to get to. Lastly, we want to make sure that just when we looked at the content, that we migrated the right content, or we upgraded the right content to the new website appropriately. So with the leadership of Jake as our project sponsor, who provided the guidance, and the direction of this website. We formed this team that encompassed every department with the city of Helena. When we look at the scope of this project, there's really kind of two phases. One is the public website, which we're talking about today. There's also a second component of this, which is the internal employee intranet. We won't talk about that, but just for your awareness, this new internet will modernize our operational backend on how employees communicate with one another, how we find information, and also how we can build certain forms to just improve our business productivity with a new internet site. So the process really was kind of 5 processes, as Jake alluded to, and I'll go more into this on the next slide. But one was the theme development, the design. What should this website look like? How should be easy to navigate for our citizens? 2 was the migration of content. Again, moving content from our current to the new. Training, how to train our staff. Refining, how do we improve our content we have as the website to make it more follow our branding, and again, find information in 1 to 2 clicks. And lastly, to publish this website. So the timeline, Jake mentioned back in July, we started the homepage design. And how this really worked is our vendor Open Cities met with the project team and did a survey of all the different members of the project. One, what made the city of Helena stand out? What are we known for? What do we feel is our top search content by our visitors? And what do we want this website to look like? After that, we also provided them with 3 or 4 different websites from different cities across the US. So we said, these are websites we want to model, that we think that we can get to. After this conversation, our vendor provided us with 3 prototypes, which the project team looked at and went through 3 revisions to get to this website you see here on the right-hand side of the screen. I apologize that it is small. Now, this is not the absolute final, but it's pretty close. The next step really is to update those little squares and triangles with our top tasks, right? Those tasks that we feel our citizens want to know the most. They can get to between 1 or 2 clicks without having to dive into it deeper. We're hoping to have this finalized by the end of next week, ideally. So we're getting very close. The next step was the content review. Open Cities did a scan of our current website, and they provided us their recommendations on what web pages or content to archive, basically meaning web pages that are out of date or maybe repetitive on other pages. Which pages to improve, pages that have good content, but on the new website, we should make it the content easier to read. Add certain widgets, whether that be scroll bars or drop downs. But again, so pages aren't so covered with information, but can be found easily. The last one is to migrate, just pages that look good on our old website, but we can move to a new website with really not having to do much work to it once we go live. The project team took that back to their individual departments, either agreed upon what Open Cities said or made recommendations on what other pages should be moved or migrated or archived. And that ended by the middle of October. We're now in the phase of moving over our content from our current website to the new website. We're hoping to have that done by December 16th, give or take a couple of days here and there. So that really kind of gets us now into the go live preparation. As Jake mentioned, we're going to go really pretty full board here December and January, and that starts with training. First will be our administrator training with Jake and Stephanie to learn how do we govern this website, how do we provide the workflows, how do we provide access, how do we make sure that the branding stays the same amongst the whole entire stack of the website. And then in January, we'll bring our content editors from our departments to learn about how you publish content, how do you add these widgets, menus, so on and so forth. And then the last part in January is when we're going to do the refinement. And that is, again, our content is now in the new website. Our job is to go in there, improve it, make sure it meets our brand, make sure content is easy to find, and our top tasks are there to make it easy to navigate by our end user. And as Jake mentioned, we're looking to go live on January 31st. So that's a quick overview of the website.
Thank you, sir. Jake, you done?
No, one more second for you. What you can expect from the new website, and just an idea what our focus has been. This is a content management system, which is the same as our current web system. What we have experienced with our current technology, it has not been easy for staff to utilize. We've run into a number of issues with the technology in the time that I've been here, and simply allowing staff from different departments to go in and make updates. And so we're excited to have a much more user-friendly system that will allow our staff to be able to go in and make simple changes, updating meeting minutes, an event calendar, additions and things like that. So we will have better access for our staff to be able to manage the website. It will afford us with a moderation process, which allows us, again, the ability to ensure that information is accurate, information is in the right place, things are following our branding and our style guidelines, better mobile responsiveness. Anybody has accessed our current website on their phone, which most people do these days. We don't have reliable mobile responsiveness. And so that will be a big additional functionality for the new website. Built-in accessibility features. So as far as ADA accessibility within the editing tools, we do have a third-party service that currently scans our website and looks for ADA compliance issues. But the new website has tools built into the editing pages. So when somebody goes to submit content, it will run a quick scan to highlight if there are issues with colors or things of that nature that we can correct on the front end and not have to catch after they're already live. And then one new feature that I just learned about in the last couple of weeks, our Be Heard Helena public engagement site was actually purchased around a year ago by the same vendor that is going to be creating our new website. And they're working on some new integration features so that as we have projects for public engagement on Be Heard Helena, being able to actually integrate those into the main website much more seamlessly, which I think is exciting. From a design perspective, you can see on the new website mock-up on the page, we went with a direction of being very task oriented. Our current website is very navigation focused, meaning that people have to search for content and they have to have an understanding of where, what departments that information might live in. Where our hope is that with being more task oriented and highlighting our services much more front and center, people will be able to get to the information they need in one to two clicks. We are going to have the ability, while we're going away from having the rotating banner images at the top of the web page, there is an alert notification type feature with the website, which allows that if we do have an emergency or just an important update that we want to make sure is present at the top of the homepage when people first visit, to be able to have a banner that takes over the top of the homepage to still have that kind of important messaging presence. With that, that is all the time I have. So if you have any questions, again, on our timeline or process, I can answer.
Commissioners, any questions? Except you.
I will just say, not that we're into friendly competition, but thanks to these gentlemen, we are way ahead of the county in terms of going live. So that was some good news from our ITNS meeting.
You better leave the county out of there. Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this topic? Madam Clerk, are we doing okay with the?
For right now, Mr. Mayor, it appears that it's actually working. So at this time, I do not have public comment, excuse me.
Okay, Ms. Danielson, you
Oh,
have the
thank you.
floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. I just wanted to thank Tyler Weingartner and Jake Garson for all their hard work on this. They've done a fabulous job. They've put a lot of effort into it, and it really shows. And it's also one of the reasons we're where we're at today on the timeline. So I want to thank them for all their hard work.
Thank you. Okay. Right, we're moving along. Residential curbside recycling collection contract amendment extension. Director Leland and Deputy Director Coleman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission.
Mayor,
Yeah,
I'll just say, so if anybody's listening, that we're recommending that you table
Yeah,
a discussion on the Helena engineering and design standards. We have a little more work to do. And we have a sick employee that's integral to the discussion, so we'll bring that back.
thank you. I meant to discuss that. Just went ahead. Thank you, Mr. Burton. Continue, please.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Commission. This is to discuss the curbside recycling contract. We first started having a curbside recycling contract with Helena Recycling, and John Hilton is here to talk back in 2015. We updated it in 2018 to include glass, and now it expires at the end of this year. And so we need to go ahead and try and get this contract going forward. And we're recommending going forward without doing anything different, because we are doing a master plan and we don't know what's going to come out of the master plan. We're looking, is it universal recycling? Is it city controlled recycling? Is it consultant? Is it single stream? What we want to do to it. So there's going to be a mass change in the solid waste system altogether. So we don't want to do anything drastic and potentially get a new service coming into town with doing anything change. So we just want to continue it. It seems to be working well. And so we just want to go forward with that. And with it, it is a subscription-based contract where you have to sign up. It is $12.20 for the subscription right now, where the city is picking up $4.20 per subscription through the residential rates that come forward. So we are subsidizing it through the residential rates. We currently have about 1,500 people right now. Going forward, we're slowly getting an increase in that. With this new contract, the contractor is asking to increase, as anything is with the commodities and gas and employees and everything that's going on with inflation. They're asking to increase to $16.20 per subscription. So it'd be a $4 increase. And the contract would be for 2 years with 1 year option on the city if we want to continue to go forward. If we're get the recommendations from the master plan, figure out we want to do any changes or how we want to do it, and we haven't implemented them, we wanted to have 1 year extra, because it's looking like it'll be about 18 months before we get the master plan complete, because it's fairly robust. So with that, it would be that each subscriber would go up from $8 a month to $12 a month at this time. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I know John Hilton is here.
So, yeah. Have you informed the subscribers?
And Mayor, Commission, we're going to have this first. We have not sent out to be the subscriber, but we have talked to John, and he is going to go out and talk to them about the subscription going up.
And we didn't want to, Mayor, Commissioners, we didn't want to get in front of the commission before we notified people. Okay. Wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable first.
And is the city portion remains stable?
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission?
Quick question, Mr. Mayor. So I think it was 2 budget cycles ago, we increased the city subsidy by $1 in the hopes that that would incentivize more subscribers, because I recall for every 1,000 subscribers, the price decreased by $1. Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah. Okay, so I guess, does that remain in place? And like, once we get to 2,000 subscribers, it will decrease by $1?
Mayor and Commissioner, the way the contract is right now is that it will just be the $16 and not have the graduated one, since we are looking at only a 2-year contract at this time.
Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, probably not a popular one. What are the options for increasing the city's contribution to offset the fairly significant increase to the subscribers right now?
Mayor, Commission, at this time, I would recommend that we have to go back during the budget process, that we would be able to discuss that when we go forward in July. But in the meantime, if we say picked it up right now. We do not have budget authority or the budget to be able to do that without a substantial tipping fee increase or rate increase associated with it. Right now, the city is paying around $75,000. And so if we pick up the $4, just to say, we would be doing another $75,000, and the residential rates can't substantiate that at this time. So we'd have to look at doing something different, and we'd have to look at the budget, but it would be through the budget process to see if we want to pick up any increase and what that would do to our tipping rates.
Okay, so now that we've been informed, what's next?
Based on that, Mayor and Commission, we are planning to bring this forward December 5th to enter into the contract.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Mayor, so one thing, I mean, I don't know how many people in the general public know how much we subsidize this program. Really is an incentive to get more people to use it. Because we obviously want folks to be recycling. I mean, what are we doing to encourage use of this program? And can we be doing more?
Mayor Commission, we do through with John Hilton to go through is we do advertise it. We do send it out, and all the money comes through the city. So we are also helping out that it's through our utility bills that you are paying for this. So we're doing the collection and then passing it through instead of being just like a subscription base where you go to the private contractor the contractor to take care of it, such as our composting. So we are doing some advertising and then education on that end. So we have looked at different ways we can look at recycling, and we did the zero waste report that came out, the strategic plan. So there are some recommendations that we are trying to incorporate into our master plan, and we'll see how we can better utilize the systems we have for recycling and better ways of possibly doing recycling.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm slightly uncomfortable with the short timeline we have to make a decision that's going to impact people more or less right away, right? The rates would start in January. I don't love that. I'm wondering if there's a way to, I would like to see this in the next budgeting cycle, but that would not kick in until the rates could then re-decrease in July, right? That would be the soonest. I'm wondering if there's any scope to, I mean, we won't know what's going to happen in the budget cycle, but I would love to split the difference and have a slightly smaller increase now with the hope of a slightly larger subsidy later. And again, we have very limited time, I think, to think this through. I wish we had more time to come up with a solution that has, all the work we've done investing in subsidies in order to increase use of this service. To have an increase that much right now, I think could undo some of the good work that's been done in the past. So I would love to find a way to offset that fairly dramatic increase in the short term. And if there are any possible solutions to that, I would love to hear them. And otherwise, I think we just have to hope that in the budgeting cycle, we're able to come up with a way to bring those rates back down, because I think it's a very valuable service. That's really great for our city. Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioner, I think those are all good points, and it certainly would be our desire to have more time to lay the groundwork for this as well. But in the meantime, we're kind of in an either-or situation. Either we move the contractor, we don't provide the service at all. But also before from now until we bring it forward in the commission meeting, for your consideration, we can continue to see if there are any options available to accomplish what you're talking about.
That'll be good. Do you have any public comments?
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is John Hill, owner of Helena Recycling. I'm just open for any questions that you may have for me in regards to the increase in the service. So the floor is open if you have any questions for me.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
I'd be interested to hear how you came up with the increase. What
Well,
were the factors leading to
So
that?
we've had this contract for 7 years, okay? So we have not increased our price once. With gas prices, labor costs, insurance costs, I mean, as everybody knows, just the inflation is killing everybody. We are still one of the lowest curbside companies cost-wise in the state. For what we do with sorted recycling. The next lowest cost is $25 per customer per month. So Bozeman is actually $10, but they don't do lots, and they're a single stream program. So that is how we came to the number.
Thank you.
And if that answers that question. So we are still on the low side, Commissioner.
We got.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor, online, I do have one hand raised and Brodsky.
You have the floor, Ms. Brodsky.
There we go. I just unmuted. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ann Brodsky. I am on the Conservation Board and do work with waste reduction there, but I'm really speaking largely, I've discussed this with my co-chair of my committee, but we haven't discussed this as a full board yet. And at this point, I appreciate the hearty discussion that you have all had. You commissioners have raised a lot of the same questions that I had in looking at this. So I just will note the math that I did, which is that currently the city subsidy amounts to 35% of the entire charge. And under this amendment as proposed, the city's subsidy would only be 25.9%. So there's a significant reduction in the city's percentage of its support for the program, which, as the city is aware, is consistent with the city's policy to reduce the amount of waste going to the landfill. And as you've all noted, there would be a 50% increase to residents who subscribe to the service. So that's my only comment right now. We may have more comments when this is up for public hearing. Thank you very much for the hearty discussion. Robust discussion.
Madam Clerk, do we have any others?
Mr. Mayor, I have no other hands raised and I have no written public comment.
Are you done? Okay. ARPA and general fund saving update. Grants Administrator Opitz and Director Danielson. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Commission. Amanda Opus is out of, she's in error, I think, and so she's not able to join us at this time. I do have a presentation. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I just want to start by just giving an update on where we've come so far in our discussions. We have to date. There it is. We have to date allocated out of our $8.4 million. We've allocated 1.8 million of those funds to the water treatment facility. We had 1.823 million that was allocated to various projects, including the Civic Center, HVAC, the ERP system, Law and Justice Center, second floor remodel, and Mount Hill radio system, the CAD RMS system over at SSD. You had made the decision to allocate $1.6 million as a contingency to hold on. And then in our most recent commission meeting, there was a proposal to bring $464,000 set aside for the Wildland truck, Grant Street roof repair, Centennial Trail repair, and paving, and a design and feasibility study for the Henderson Street pedestrian bridge. And we will be bringing a resolution at the December 5th meeting to make those allocations of the 464 complete for the commission to vote on. So with all of those allocations to date, there is $2.798 million left of the funding that we received that has not been allocated to date. The timeline that we've gone through, we've had several conversations. We've had the departments bring forth their capital improvement plans that were discussed and presented to the commission. We had internal request discussions in September and October, and most recently at the November 16th meeting where the commission designated that last $464,000 to be brought forward for a full vote on December 5th. And the external applications, we opened it up for a letter of intent to apply, and we got a real robust response from the community totaling over $15 million in asks. We had presented some of that information to the commission. We've had some public comment. And also at the November 16th administrative meeting, we brought forth some refined priorities and goals that the commission wanted to achieve with allocating those external funding. And just as a recap on that, again, we had 43 letters of intent from 41 organizations, over $15 million of external asks. And all of those asks included a variety of programs, capital construction, program support, events, and property acquisition. The commission decided on some priorities. Those were programs, projects benefiting vulnerable populations in our community, public health and safety as another priority, programs and projects that improve the quality of life of our residents here in Helena, and economic development. And so those were consensus that brought those commission priorities for these external project applications. Tonight, we asked that, and I'm just going to go over this next one. Tonight, we had asked the commission to, at the last meeting, to come back and bring back your 5 top funding priorities out of the letters of intent that were submitted. And we're also looking for the commission to provide direction on whether or not you want to set an external cap on what we want to distribute externally versus keep internally. Again, we have $2.7 million of available funding left. We're asking the commission to come to a consensus if at this time, or at least a discussion on if you want to put a cap on that external funding. And then again, we'll bring back the $464,000 to the December 5th commission meeting for a final vote on that $464,000 allocation for those projects that were mentioned earlier. So that's the end of my presentation. Again, I'll have the city manager also speak.
Thank you, Director. So Mayor, based upon the discussion we had at the last administrative meeting, it might be helpful to hear from the commission on what your top 5 are. And as you know, this has been an organic process. You've made decisions after you've had discussions, and when you've arrived at a point where you're comfortable. I'm not sure where the discussion will end up tonight, but we can regroup after it's done and then figure the next steps forward. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
if I may, before we get on to our top 5, so the ARPA discussion has you know gone on really for a number of us since the fall of 2021, and it's been kind of a long and winding road. When Manager Burton came on board, I think the discussion became more focused, appropriately so. The initial look at it was primarily internal. Of course, now we're into the external side of things. But for me, from the beginning, I started talking a lot about infrastructure. And I think, in terms of water, wastewater, we've done about all we can do with the funds and the capacity to do the work. But we were reminded, I think, at our last administrative meeting or the administrative meeting before from Wilbur Raymond about some things that I guess we lost sight of, maybe might be a way to put it. But I think he brought up Centennial Trail, and we made some adjustments at our last administrative meeting relative to paving and feasibility study, but we still have the big expense of the bridge out there, I would say, looming. We don't know what that is. And then he brought up safe routes to schools. So I guess relative to those two items, have we done all we can do, would you say? Or should we consider them more? Or should we give them consideration just before we get started into our external applications? And if you think we have, there's the answer. If there's more we can do, maybe we got to discuss that at this point.
I think we beat the dead horse. In my opinion, we need to move forward with the external application. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will phrase it somewhat differently, but I think the safe routes to schools and the bridge project, as far as I have understood, are both things that I think are super important and I want to move forward, but their timelines are not amenable to this funding. And I think there are alternate sources of funding that are suitable for them. So I'm really, really happy we're able to make some progress, particularly on Centennial now. And I want to make sure we do keep that moving forward and that we do prioritize it. And the safe routes to schools, if I'm understanding from Manager Burton, that is an ongoing process with the school district, and there are funding opportunities, I believe, at the federal level for that. So I'm not sure I would say specifically we've done everything we can do, but I think given the need, that speaks to me from this list of community projects, I feel like we have done something. We're continuing to move them forward, and in my opinion, again, the need that I'm seeing from the external projects suggests that it is time for us to move forward in that direction.
Any other comments from the commission?
So I can jump in if you want. I don't have to right now.
I'm putting a time limit on you.
Okay. I think this is maybe a both and conversation. One of the things I reflected on when I was going back through all of the requests is that there's a handful of them that actually have a lot to do with city-owned property. That we see many budget cycles come up, and it's one of those things that we just don't get to because we have other competing priorities. This next budget cycle will obviously, just even the conversation with Mr. Hilton in the increased rates, I'm a little anxious about what will come from our staffing market-based pay study because we know we're behind. And so I think this next budget cycle is probably going to be a rough one, and I think we should just all be prepared for that. I do think that there's an opportunity to pull out some of the items that were in this list that I think are important, and an opportunity for us to fund them that are related to city-owned property. They're not humongous requests either compared to some of the others. So I think like Kay's Kids, the dog park, the rock climbing stabilization, I think there's an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what those projects could look like within city-owned facilities. There are also a couple other requests in here that, and I have sent these to Ms. Opitz, and the city manager also has them, that could be funded through some of the bipartisan infrastructure bill grants. So the request from the Montana History Foundation and Preserve Montana, I think that if we pursue there's an NEA Our Town grant, those programs would fit really well in. And then also for the Fire Safe Helena request, there is a building resilient infrastructure and communities grant that was part of the infrastructure bill. I think we should be pursuing those so that we are able to hit multiple pots of money where we can. Reviewing all of the other federal funds available, I think that's more or less what covers that. There are other funds that for city projects that I think that we could get access to, but not necessarily for these external groups. I would be comfortable. I think there's a few items on here that are, I think, maybe lower hanging fruit and smaller dollar amounts that would go a really long way, but don't necessarily require, like, I don't feel like I need a whole nother application to fully understand them. Those three are the Be Smart gun storage, which was $20,000, and something that is consistent with the work that the department already does as well. We talked a little bit about during the last budget cycle. The Big Brothers Big Sisters mentoring program, they're really specific that would supplement, not supplant. And if any of you have ever had any involvement with Big Brothers Big Sisters, truly a life-changing thing for kids. And if we want to talk about generational change, that's a lot of bang for your buck. And then there was a $2,000 request for a demonstration day by the Last Chance Community Powwow. I don't need a whole nother application for that. I think $2,000 is something that's very reasonable in a group that does a lot of really cool work within the community. For the others, I do have 5 that I specifically would like to see us pursue for a larger application. Adding things up, I would be interested in saying, you know, what if we set an external limit at 1.5 million, which would give us 1.2 million to hold on the side for some of these other city-owned properties that we have, or facilities that we have not have a lot of deferred maintenance, and we have not necessarily completed all the projects that are within our work cycle, some of which were included in here. I just know that, I mean, based on the conversations we've been having, I want us to all keep in mind that come March, April, May, I haven't been, Director Danielson can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that we are not going to be able to do a lot of our the projects that it's going to be a lot of wages, benefits. How do we keep things moving given our economic circumstances, not funding new projects or even one-time only projects, because I don't think the cash is necessarily going to be there. And Director Danielson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what the trends seem to be directing us towards.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. It is, this is that we're facing, you know, a lot of challenges, you know, in our operations right now with inflation and with trying to understand the outcome of our wage and benefit study for recruitment and retention purposes and all of that. So, you know, I've been working with some of the departments, you know, on their already forecasting what 2024 is going to look like. And there are a lot of challenges that we'll be facing.
Oh, you haven't done that yet?
So my 5 that I would be really interested in seeing do full application would be Family Promise, Food Share, Peer View, Our Redeemers Lutheran Church Project, and Carol.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. I will have to, as usual, step out briefly at 5:30. So thank you for letting me do my 5 in person. I appreciate the comments of Commissioner Dean. I had quite a time with this list. It really, the community need speaks very clearly through this list. And as you can see, I have all sorts of notes and citations, and I've tried to come up with 5, and I managed to narrow it down to like 24, and then I kept going.
Please keep going.
I did, I was able to, eliminates the wrong word, but there were some projects on city-owned assets that were not, in my opinion, under the external column that I did remove. There was one, I believe, outside of city limits. But the point here is that there is real community need. We have an incredible group of organizations that submitted their ideas, and I'm grateful for that. It really helps me understand better what we have in our community. I went back and forth on what amount we should set, and honestly, I feel like given the need that is obvious from this list, I would recommend allocating the full amount that we have left. We have a $1.6 million contingency, and I think we could always hold it for something that may come. But I feel remiss in doing that given the profound need in our community right now. So with that, my approach was to look for projects that are transformational and that are going to have a significant impact on our community for a long time. My list is quite similar to Commissioner Dean's. I came up with 6, which is not quite the same as 5, but it was close enough. So we're going to go with that for now. Sorry, I really tried. Family Promise, the Helena Regional Sports Authority, Our Redeemers, Helena Food Chair, the Friendship Centers. They had 2 projects. This was the purchase of house to support client services. I will note for the record that I formerly worked for the Friendship Center. I am no longer affiliated with them. But I felt
Your heart is there.
important to say that. I will also disclose that I was formerly a member of the board of directors for the YWCA, who is a part of the Our Redeemers project, but I am no longer on the board as of December last year. And then number 6 was the United Way project for mobile hygiene and meal preparation units. I will not go into my justification for any of these at length, but again, it was transformational, addressing the real profound needs that I saw. And I will express my thanks to everyone who submitted a letter of interest, to every organization that's doing the work you're doing, and to everyone who came out tonight. I know this is a big deal. It's a once in a pandemic opportunity. And I will say that to the organizations that did not make my top list, I am hopeful that between the Helena Area Community Foundation grants we've already done and the money that remains, we will be able to meet at least some of the other needs that are listed here. Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, commissioners, for your thoughts on this too. I've been wrestling with this as well. It's something I wake up thinking about. I think about it all day, and I go to bed thinking about. The need is great. 43 different projects from 41 different organizations, $15.7.8 million in requests. It's a lot of good projects. I wish we could fund them all fully. It came down to wants versus needs. Looking at kind of trying to frame things in people, places, or prosperity. Work in economic development. Some of the things that we see, the 3 top things that we see every day that are affecting every community in the state, including our own county, has for the last 2 years, is lack of workforce, housing, and childcare. And those are things I try to keep in mind. And yes, this is a lot of money. And some have said, well, what are you guys doing with that money? And the thing is we've paid our bills, our budget's balanced, a little extra money to invest in our state or in our community. And there's a lot of other communities around the state that have said, you guys still have ARPA money. We invested ours just like that because we thought it was going to be gone. They praised Helena and our staff for how they've handled the ARPA funding. It's thoughtful in how we're going about this, and that's the way I'd like to keep it. I know some of the organizations are here have expressed some concern that the city keeps chipping away. It was a certain set amount that keeps chipping away. I'd like to see, like Commissioner Dean brought up, is to possibly narrow the list for those that are not eligible, that are inside the city limits, don't meet our criteria, some that are on city property. I'd like to see some of that. Also, too, I agree with Commissioner Dean that we need to be dogged. I've said this in several meetings that we need to be dogged when it comes to other grants. There's other pots of money out there. Our friends to the east in East Helena are doing that right now. They're looking at funding sources all across all throughout. They're looking for money everywhere and they're finding it. I'd like to see us be as dogged at finding those dollars as well. Looking at if you did a minimum funding, each project would get $43,000, that'd be great. If you gave everybody $1,000, if there was a minimum, I think that'd be an interesting thought too. We got an email today from a constituent that mentioned, well, if you give 25% of one category, 50% to another category, and 75% would still give you $2.1 million left over. Looking at ways where we're not funding completely, but we look at percentage of filling. If you look at projects, say under $200,000, we could fund nearly 21 projects. And so in terms of top 5, or is it equal to 2.79 million? It's kind of what I'm looking at. But looking at what the city's already done, and interim city manager's already done too, is for the projects that we're already funding, they're cost sharing. We're cost sharing with the county. There's money that's out there that we're partnering with. So looking at that, I also I think we need a clawback clause. If the money we allocate, we should be able to get that back if it's not allocated or used. But in terms of my top 5, finally, Mr. Mayor.
That's what you're supposed to be.
Finally, Mr. Mayor. So I think, like Commissioner Reed said very well. I'm like, I don't need to justify it. I appreciate you saying that. There's a lot on here and I'd like to fund them all, but our redeemers, I think, would be my number 1. The effort that's going on there, the Helena Food Share, in terms of people, places, and prosperity. Making sure people have homes. This is going to put a major dent in our fight to find workforce, to retain workforce, mental health, homelessness. It's the one big thing that we can do that's going to be transformational and meaningful to our community, not just from here, but for 50, 100 years in the future. The food share, United Way, I think there's a way that we could work with them to fund some of their stuff. Family Promise for sure. Rotary, K's Kids, I think working with children, I think is something that we need to do. Also too, the Helena Chamber of Commerce, Visit Helena, downtown Helena businesses have worked on a strategic plan for over a year. I'm a part of that. I would put that in my top 5, but I'd have to recuse myself. I've been a part of those discussions. But also too, I've had discussions with, maybe giving a little bit to help Carroll with some of their sports programs, but also to the sports facility. And I'm interested to see how that can attract and retain people to our community. It's like 15 and 5, but thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So give us your top 5.
Our redeemers for sure.
Okay.
Helena Food Share, Family Promise, sports facility in United Way.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I'd say at the outset that I tend to agree with Commissioner Reed in terms of the cap. Let's spend what we got left, particularly after I had my last ditch effort to beat the dead horse.
I was right there with you.
Yeah, so given that, I'll go right into my top 5. Our Redeemers Lutheran, Helena Food Share, Family Promise, Helena Regional Sports Association, and the last one that differs from others, but I think is very important, that relates to our second priority of public health and safety, is the application by Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. Now, I've got to say this up front. I am on the board of Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. I partnered with them when I was the fire chief to do projects in the city of Helena, primarily educational, but there was some mitigation. And when I retired, I got on their board because I believe very strongly in the work that they do, particularly as it relates to the Helena community. And I just go back to last summer, and I don't know if any of you were in the area when the fire on Mount Helena happened, but all you had to do is be on the Upper West Side or over at Reader's Village, and you can see that our citizenry have a great deal of need in terms of education. And I think Tri-County's application addresses that. and then some. And it's, so that's where mine, I think I'm the only one that maybe made that up or recommendation for that application, but I'd like to see that move forward. So there
Thank
have it.
you, Commissioner.
I think that we should, I agree with Tri-County, but I do think that we should go after the infrastructure grant to get, I mean,
Okay.
before we allocate if money's already there for.
Mine 5. While we're aware, at least I'm aware that we can't fully fund most of the project, but we can definitely put a dent in some of them. Carroll College, YWCA, Habitat for Humanity, United Way. And this one is close to me because this is something that the late Commissioner Fever really spoke highly of. And that's why I want to be able to continue that is exploration work, because he was very close to that. He took that to heart, and he wanted us to do something with it because he believed in Helena's kids. And like Commissioner Reed, I got a 6th one, and that's our Redeemer Lutheran Church. So I can't let her outdo me, so. That's fine. Okay.
Is it the dead horse?
So Mayor, between 5 and 7,
No, 5 and 6, period.
you
You're
guys are
done.
following your own rules pretty good.
Okay, so Director Danielson.
Thank you.
No,
Mayor.
I'm not.
You're not finished. Okay.
We just give provider a guideline to you as you requested.
That is correct. So I wanted to just follow up. I think I missed Commissioner Dean's 5. I
Yeah,
have
that was
family
fast.
promise. And so I'd like to just clarify that I have all 5: family promise, food share, Carol, our Redeemers, and what was the fifth one? Pureview. Okay. And then Commissioner Reed's top 5 were family promise, or top 6, family promise, Helena Regional Sports Authority, our Redeemers, food share, the Friendship Center for the house purchase, and the United Way Hygiene Program.
Yes.
And Commissioner Shirtleff's top 5 was our Redeemers, the food share, United Way Program, family promise, and Helena Regional Sports Authority. And Commissioner Logan's
I mentioned
was,
Carol too. I know that's my 6. and they-
you had 6. Okay, Carol. Okay. And then you mentioned Kay's kids, but then I
Yeah.
don't,
You
that
were
dropped off.
just spinning
Okay.
around.
Okay. And Commissioner Logan, you had your top 5 as our Redeemers, the food share, family promise, the Helena Regional Sports Authority, and the Tri-County Fire Safe Program. And Mayor, yours was Carroll College, YWCA, Habitat for Humanity, United Way, Exploration Works, and Our Redeemers. Did I get all that correct?
Yes.
Could I ask a question? I don't think YWCA and Habitat have a separate project. They're part of our Redeemers. So you actually get more, Mr.
And that's good. Right?
Thank you for
There
that
you go.
clarification. Yeah, because I was trying to go over the list.
I know, I was like,
Again, it's a
Yeah.
long list here, so I was trying to configure
No,
it all.
that's, she's right,
Yeah.
but that's,
So the
Okay, you caught me.
YWCA and Habitat and our
You get
Redeemers
to add
is
more to
all
your
one
list if you
project.
want. You've only got 3 now.
okay, so then I go to, my 4th one is Carroll College, and my 5th is Carroll College, and my 6th is, no, I'm joking. So, no, but would you name them again, please?
So I'm just gonna wrap up YWCA Habitat
Okay,
into the our Redeemers. So you have our Redeemers, Carroll College, United Way, and Exploration Works.
correct. And
You need one more,
yeah, family problems.
family promise. Okay, thank you. And the other thing that I wanted to clarify, so it seems to me that, we had talked about setting particular parameters, but it sounds like you've done that by coming up with your top 5.
Yeah, and
City manager?
Go ahead.
Mayor, just to make a suggestion, because as we talked about, this is has been an organic process. So this narrows the next discussion down a little bit. Yeah, the beginning of a discussion, I don't think it's the end of one. What I would recommend that city staff do after this discussion that we just had is that we summarize in writing your top priorities. And you still have to finalize the discussion on how you're going to allocate money. That's a future discussion. And I know that giving us direction in terms of 1.5 versus the total amount, we still have to work through that. I'd like to have a discussion with the commission one more time after we review that summary, and you feel that we've comfortably represented this discussion, and then take further direction on going out for applications with more detailed information, and get that back, report back to the commission, give you the information. And then if you're comfortable making decisions at that point, either staying with what you've already grouped out, because some of these have clear priorities, 3 or more people, and just work our way with that summary through another discussion, and then we'll take it from there, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, in my 6, I listened to Commissioner Logan, and I want to put in the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. After that, we're now to, are you done?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, one comment. I don't think I did a very good job on when I was advocating for Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. I did mention that I was on the board, and I spoke with the city attorney about my advocacy or not of this particular proposal, and being on the board, I just want to say for the public and the record, I stand in no way to profit from this.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and honestly, had nothing to do with the application. So I just wanted everybody to know that. But I will continue to advocate for it.
Thank you.
There you have it. Thanks.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So I think there are 3, there were 3 applications in here: Montana History Foundation, Preserve Montana, and Tri-County Fire Safety, that would be eligible for some of the infrastructure grants. They're encouraged to go through a municipal sponsor, which is why they're in there. Can we pursue those funding for those programs?
Mayor, Commissioner, I think that what, excuse me, what I intend on having us do for you is, obviously, we know what the amount of money that you have at your discretion right now doesn't fund everything with the 41 projects. However, this is the first time we've ever had an expression of need to that degree. And we also have opportunities through various federal grants. And our plan was, following up with receiving direction on ARPA, is to come back to the commission with a review of the federal grant opportunities and how did the remaining projects that are unfunded fit within the eligible categories that exist. So that will be a conversation that we're not prepared for right now, but we're preparing for. And I think too, that the full 41 project list that you have is I consider it to be a very valuable resource in terms of strategic partnerships that we can build out in the community moving forward.
Thank you. At this time, do we have anybody from the public who wishes to address the commission? You have the floor. Please.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for the record, my name is Sharon Calvin. I'm a citizen. I also have been working with our Redeemer's Church. First of all, I want to thank the commission sincerely for this complete deliberation and consideration of how to spend the ARPA money. This is a one-time resource. It will probably never happen again, hopefully, because the circumstances that led to it were pretty dramatic for all of us. So thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity that you're going to provide us. We love the idea that you have and seen the value of this project to the community. And we hopefully will give you the best application you've ever seen. With that, we also have an opportunity to now approach the county, because the county also wanted to see some level of commitment. And I don't know if this is enough for the county, but we certainly intend on pursuing the county, and in addition to certain other things. I am doing this on an entirely volunteer basis, and I have been involved in these types of things for many years. This is for a commission to take this time. I can only tell you I appreciate that. I think the partners that we have at the table are probably the best group of people I personally ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot. There's a lot of need in this community as I look around. And I don't envy your job, and I don't envy the staff's job for ranking it. But again, thank you for doing that. And then just as a side note, I think we should all go down to Ernie's for on last drink tonight, because this is the last one. Just a thought.
Who's buying?
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll buy.
We got some extra money. in the kitty there.
Well, I'm retired, so you gotta
Do we have any others? Please, you have the floor.
Hello, my name is Kelly Kozowitz. I'm the Executive Director at Exploration Works. And I want to thank everyone for all the time and effort you put into these considerations. And the need in the community is so great. And there's so many wonderful people here, and I'm glad to see that they're getting the support that they deserve. And I really appreciate bringing Exploration Works name to the table. While there is a great need in the community, urgent need, education has that power to help end the cycle of poverty and give families and kids opportunities. So I thank you for considering Exploration Works. And also, because there's such a huge need in the community, the proposal that we put forward, we could certainly cut that in half and still be successful and be able to raise the money that we need. And just a quick refresh, our project is to enclose the balcony at Exploration Works, which is failing and unusable, so that we can provide more programs in there. Also to add some new technology. Now, if we could get the city's help with just enclosing that space, that would be great. We can get the money for the technology somewhere else. But I was also wondering, because the city owns 39% of Exploration Works building, if we would be put in a different category, or if we're still considered part of the external. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
Charlie Gross, Director of Athletics at Carroll College. Whoops. Echo the words that have already been said. Thank you for your willingness to invest in the community of Helena and be collaborative and partner. And an entity like Carroll College has been in this community for 113 years, and you can't think of Carroll without bringing up Helena, and you can't think of Helena without bringing up Carroll. And so we enthusiastically look forward to having the opportunity to further our application for a Nelson Stadium enhancement. So on behalf of Carroll College, thank you.
Thank you. As you were speaking, I'm looking at the manager's cup, and I see Carroll College 1909. So I don't know if that was coincidental or
that was just a coincidence tonight. My math adds up.
do we have any other public comments? Please go ahead.
Members, I'm Chair Jessica, Preserve Montana. And first of all,
really opportunity for the community. I've lived here for decades, and all of these wonderful programs and projects that we've identified are truly needed. And I think it's a wonderful thing to have a chance to invest in it. Preserve Montana would like to thank Commissioner Dean for thinking creatively and outside the box a little bit for how we would fund and appreciate the value of the kind of education and job force training that we might institute in the communities and support in the city. Appreciate it that way. The program that you mentioned will not be a fit, I'm afraid. I just want to say that. I've been on the faculty for our town, and I've also written grants and participated in some of those workshops, and it is not a fit, honestly. But that doesn't mean there aren't others. I would, because I can obviously see the writing on the wall, like to say that I hope you might consider Commissioner Sherwood's suggestion that some money go to some of the other nonprofits that are not among the dozen that we cited as wanting to see a rise from. I think that the nonprofit sector in Helena, there is a really important part of the local economy and culture. And so in terms of economic development, which isn't really addressed as much in the list that we have, the kinds of programs that we're suggesting, the STEM program out of exploration works, and a number of the others really have that ability to balance out the way that the funding will be expended to not only meet deep social needs and needs, but also offer promise and something transformational. One time only this pandemic opportunity. So I do hope that we might look at ways to spread the money, even if it's a reduced amount, to some of the others that would really be worthy. And finally, a generous offer from Exploration Works to think about how they might not take quite as big a slice of the pie in order for others to benefit. And this notion of leveraging, I think, is really critical. I spend so much of my time writing successful grants, all kinds of different directions, and I would offer, and there may be others in this list as well, to work with some of the grant staff and some of the commissioners to look at how maybe there would be some different funding available and how some of these funds that are being granted out could look for a match that would solidly leverage those funds that would happen. So I really appreciate all you've done. It's a hard thing to, kind of pick the favorites out of a big list that, so worthy, but I do look forward to hearing more and seeing more opportunities will be there. So thanks so much.
What's your name again, ma'am?
Chair, Justin, Preserve.
Do we have any others? Do we have any online, Madam Clerk? Oh, okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for your hard work and for having us here tonight. I've never attended one of your meetings.
Sir, you may want to introduce yourself.
Maybe. Nathan Costed, both on 6th Avenue. I've never attended one of your meetings because I trust the work you do, and today is no different. I'm just enthusiastic about what you guys can accomplish here. And I think there's a lot of good opportunities. I think Commissioner Dean talked about a couple projects that sound incredible that are almost free. The powwow and the gun storage sound great for the price. But I'd say my highest priority is getting the most bang for your buck. And I think it's great that everybody thinks they can take a percentage or maybe figure out what works with the grants with people in the community. But I think there's a once in a lifetime opportunity to make a real difference. And in the Our Redeemers project that the city's been lacking the sort of support that a lot of places in Montana have developed over the last 20 and 30 years as the city and state has grown. And as I call it, the last couple of years, we've gotten Yellowstoned. There's a lot of people in need at a lot of levels. And a lot of that is, you talk about employees, economic development. None of that can occur if people don't have a place to live. Affordable housing and transitional housing are crucial to that. So I think this project is just, it's got people from all corners of the community. I mean, it made me quit watching soccer today and come out here. So I really hope you can give it a look, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Any others? Oh, go ahead, sir.
Very briefly, Jeff Busher from the United Way. It is an honor to work in the city with the nonprofits that are here that do some amazing work. And I would also echo the work you all have done. I would congratulate you on your transparency and just the intentionality of this process in an age of difficult politics. You all are the antithesis of that, and thank you. And I would also say that doing my homework as we wrote this letter of intent, we may be able to, my estimate may have been a little high, so that may help in the process as well. So thank you, and I look forward to how the process continues.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any others?
Commission Mayor.
I forgot to mention 2 minutes each.
I'm disqualified. Mayor, Commission, my name is Jennifer Gursky. I'm the Executive Director of YWCA Helena. I'm also a citizen here that lives on Broadway. I am here in my official capacity as the Executive Director of YWCA Helena. Thanks. Thanks for a lot of hard work. Public service and civic service is not for the weak at heart. And as a person who spent my career doing that, both ends, saying publicly what your top 5 choices, I kind of just imagine the anxiety holding right here as you have probably the most lively administrative meeting crowd in a long time. Thanks for doing hard things. I hope this is the hardest thing that we have to do. I am here to speak on behalf of the Our Redeemer's Lutheran Church Project. I am a partner of 4, YWCA, who is over a century strong now, kicking around in this century-old building, and ready to serve more, ready to do more than the 24 rooms that we currently have. I am partnered with Habitat for Humanity, who I was playing chicken with to give public comment. I don't know if I won or lost. Whose part of the project is about 30 homes, permanency. So you all know, and for my friends and colleagues in the room, YWCA works from homelessness to transitional housing. Habitat will work on permanency. And that middle partner in that full continuum of housing is RMDC coming to the table for 113 doors of subsidized housing. What's in the plan that we started 24 months ago. So this was one of our dreams. Honestly, right in the middle of 2020, when all of us were like, why are we even talking about this right now? And it was because actually housing was around as a #1 problem in our community long before COVID. And COVID just exacerbated it. And like Commissioner Reed, Sharon has said, COVID exacerbated it, but more or less it just revealed it to us. Because those of us working in frontline service and human services have known it's been there. And then the economy got to know that it was there. So this project is serious and it's full continuum. And I will say, if I can say this at a public meeting, it's sexy. And here's why. I don't know if that was in response to the sexy comment, but God bless you. I was speaking to some service partners today from Missoula who came over to say, what are you guys doing? It seems to be working. Your funders are in love with you. Your success rates, what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. And I talked to them about this ORLC project. They're from Mountain Home, Montana. Missoula, pregnant, young mother's home, doing exactly the same work. And Mr. Kuntz, I will say, how do we get our Habitat to do that with us? How can we get our city and our county on board with that? And this is Missoula, supposedly our shining example right now of how we're supposed to do all things public service. We're innovative, we're transformative, and we're seeking solutions. And I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate and saying yes to that. We have requested what seems like a big chunk. But I want to just put it in perspective that the big chunk is yet to come. That the over $2 million to purchase those 9 to 10 acres, 9-ish acres, and then develop actually works out to be less than 6% of the actual project cost. We still have $36 million to raise as partners in this. I had 20 to 24 units to still build. That's going to cost me $6 to $8 million. I have a funding plan for that. I've been successful. We're on it. The gentleman who I'm hopefully is going to speak after me has shown that he is successful at that. And so is RMDC. We're in it. I was recently asked, and I only say this so that you know what the integrity and the value set of these partners that are coming together is. I was recently asked for a different project, if I was doing it for ego or if it made sense for my program. I won't get into why funders think that they can ask questions like that, but nobody gets into jobs like mine and Mr. Kenneth's because we're in it for the ego. Nobody. We're not schlepping funds, working 12-hour days, shoveling our own sidewalks, making sure that we have women going to food share. Only one woman with 5 kiddos in a dorm style room because we have the ego. We're really doing it for the benefit of this community. And we're doing it at the front direct service lines. So I thank you for being a partner, even at that little below that 6%, because I will tell you without this investment, this project gets waitlisted for 5 to 10 more years. And I really don't think that our community has that time to waste. What your investment today means is that we get to get started now with this project. And I get to go to potential funders now and say, it's real, it's happening. Come and invest in this collaboration. And let's be that little city on a hill that says, okay, Missoula, come copy us. Because when the website person said that we were in competition with the county, or maybe it was you, Commissioner Deaver, oh, we're better than the county. I was like, no, we'll be better than Bozeman. So let's talk about real competition.
Okay.
That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm assuming she said it all.
You called me out.
But you don't have to speak.
I will be very short, I promise. Mayor, commissioners, ditto to all that. We have 700 families on a waiting list in Helena for our programs. We opened up a application cycle. I actually don't feel bad for it because we opened an application cycle and we received 70 applications instantly for 4 spots. And the reason why we're only building 4 is not because we don't have the capacity to build more, it's because we don't have the land, we don't have the place to build more. So we've also been spending the last years getting into the land development business. And right now, all those projects together total 400 homes, permanently affordable homes, over the next 10 years. So, but unfortunately, the majority of those are not inside the city limits of Helena because while all the stuff was going on, Helena became Bozeman. It's really hard to touch anything inside the city limits.
Helena became Bozeman?
You can't touch a lot inside the city limits. You can't find one except for here or there. And so it requires equity at the table to get affordable homes built for the workforce. So the folks who are working with us are the workforce, the folks who work in the businesses. So just some information there. We're really excited about this project because it is one of those projects that's going to be the model that we can replicate, transform, and then attract all those dollars from the public private sector and leverage it into greater and greater things and additional projects across the city. So this would be an investment, a true investment in a long-term strategy to make sure that we can say that we're not Bozeman, and that we're actually a good place to live. So.
Yeah, you confused me just now. Okay, do we have any others? Because time has been far spent. Do we have any online, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, the first hand I have raised online is Heidi Friedlander, the representative from HCC.
Is she making comments or she's making comments for HCC? Do you know? Ms. Freelander, you have the floor.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, for HCC. Even though I am known for making public comments. But good evening, Mayor, City Commissioner, City Manager, and members of the community. Thank you first for all your dedication to the city. I public comment a lot, so I'm fast, and I really like to respect others' times, and it's never in vain. So I assure you, this will be very quick. those 5-6 lists were very thought out and wonderful. I am the Helena Citizens Council 6th District. And I just had a question. Did anybody else comment from us at all tonight? Or am I the first from us?
Your name is down for the comments.
Okay, we have our meeting tonight, so I'll just share a few tiny minutes from our October meeting. As always, our motto is we are your voice for the community members. So they do come in public comment. And what we have been working on is our bylaws and updating them and no major changes with them. The public comment that we had most recently was a community member saying that the commission and city manager are not paying enough attention to issues and growth in East Helena. He suggests that we have someone go to the East Helena Commission meetings as well as invite a representative from East Helena to attend and give input to our City of Helena Commission meetings. That was word for word from that community member on our last meeting. That's all I have. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. As always, I was happy to be on this one, trying to give me ideas. I want to do a Boys and Girls Club here someday in a lifetime. And have a great rest of your night and happy holidays to all. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Freelander. Madam Clerk.
The next hand I have raised online is Liz Mogstad.
You have the floor. Liz Mogstad.
There we go. Hello, this is Liz Mogstad with Rocky Mountain Development Council. I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that I was in the meeting and that I obviously I'm in support with Jen and Jacob on our Redeemers. We also have about 700 or 800 people on our waiting list at Red Alder. And so we're in dire need. And then I just want to also point out that when we build these, it's at least 46 years of affordability with our apartments that we build, and usually longer because Rocky stays in for the long term. And our intention is to keep these affordable. Also, when this happens, I say when optimistically, we would be pairing this with probably another project across town. This would give us the efficiency and the economy of scale we need to build another few hundred units on the opposite side of town. So really with this investment, not only will it help our Redeemers, but it should help springboard us into a secondary project. So that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you guys again for everything. And I'm very glad that you've made this money available to the community. Appreciate it and have a great night.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no other public comment online.
I'm not going to entertain any more public comment. At this time, this meeting is adjourned.
That's funny.
Are we doing the county meeting?
Yeah, and that's
City County?
well, we're,
I can tell you.
Troy with
We
the
should make
building,
sure that
they're
we have
having a
them
whole
there.
system.
Cool.
That's
There
what
you go.
The other one is that
These
they're-
are- And I think what we're looking at is.
I'm gonna. You're right.
Nice.
But.
Okay.
I am not.